says, uno says, please don't get up in my way. Uno says, uno says, uno says, please don't get up in my way. Uno says, what's up? Uno says, what's up? Uno says, please don't get up in my way.
What's up, my vatos in Cali, Dominicanos up in NY, Cubanos in Miami, Colombianos, we roll. I rap that wash hacks like all day. The sun is shame like cost me. I try to walk that nail path, but your boy live off of Broadway. I took the A train to 168, Dominicanos, playing dominoes and then platinos all on my plate. New York in my mind state, but you know we take it international. We finna follow any with the master go, so we hang with and bang with every language. Even I be speaking that Spanglish like Dímelo loco, tato, let's go. Vámonos, we out here, oh. Mi amigos y yo unidos from the west side to the east coast, so ain't nobody rapping like this. Wood, understand the name of my clique, yup. Todos los días, manito, dale, ya tú sabes, huh?
Uno says, uno says, uno says, please don't get up in my way. Uno says, uno says, uno says, please don't get up in my way. Uno says, uno says, uno says, please don't get up in my way. Uno says, uno says, uno says, please don't get up in my way.
This for my vatos in Cali, Dominicanos up in NY, Cubanos in Miami, Colombianos, we roll. I'm on my 116 if you rap the truth set. Boots the blaze at the face and taking trips. 2-4 the wages up the simple choose. Thank you, shoot, because you gave us news that'll break them chains and I make us new. You got about 3 seconds to turn up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Please stand and worship with us.
Heaven thundered, and the world was born. Life begins and ends in the dust you formed. Faith commanded, and the mountains moved. Fear is losing ground to our hope in you. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Freedom conquered, all our chains undone. Sin defeated, Jesus has overcome. Mercy triumphs when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the stone was gone. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. be alright, 'cause I know my God saved the day, and I know His word never fails, and I know my God made a way for me. 'Cause I know my God saved the day, and I know His word never fails, and I know my God made a way for me. Salvation is here. Salvation is here. Salvation is here, and He lives in me. Salvation is here. Salvation died just to set me free. Salvation is here. Salvation is here, and He lives in me. Salvation is here. 'Cause you are alive and you live in me. Salvation is here. Salvation is here, and He lives in me. Salvation is here. 'Cause you are alive and you live in me. 'Cause I know my God saved the day, and I know His word never fails, and I know my God made a way for me. 'Cause I know my God saved the day, and I know His word never fails, and I know my God made a way for me. Salvation is here. Salvation is here, and He lives in me. Salvation is here. 'Cause you are alive and you live in me.
Hey, everybody say win-win. I'm going to talk for like 1 minute, and I need to encourage you to do something with me. It is a win-win for us. The Lincoln Amphitheater, okay, needs drivers and cleaners for shows during the summer season. And it is a great opportunity for us to help folks in the community and for us to get out and work together. Raise your hand if you've done it before. It's a good time, okay? Unless you're around certain people driving golf carts, then it's a little shady. But you were driving golf carts, we're cleaning the amphitheater. It's like 13 dates, and I'll bring it around during small group. If we get a bunch of people to sign up for it, it's like you show up one time and we can earn some cash for the church. We can spend some time together, help out the community. Everybody say win-win. Win-win. So if I don't find you tonight, find me. Okay? Thanks.
But He brought me in, oh His love for me, oh His love for me. Who the sun sets free, oh it's free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Everlasting has ransomed me, His grace from the sky. But was a slave to sin, Jesus died for. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Set free, oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Welcome, everybody. Great job to the worship team. Let's give them a round of applause. You guys can go ahead and take a seat. Thank you for worshiping with us. So I'm going to go ahead and pray in Pastor Tim because he's here to preach for us. So if you all would bow your heads and join me in prayer. Dear Father God, thank you for bringing us all together back again after some weeks of snow and online school and whatnot. And God, we're just so happy to be here with you today and just to be together again. And I pray that the words that Pastor Tim speaks today, that God, you would just lift them up and that you would lift him up and that eyes would be opened and ears would listen. I ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Kinley. Man, I love worshiping with you guys. This is just so awesome. And I can guarantee you that in an adult service, you would not have seen a Coke spilled up there and such furious engagement to try to get it cleaned up, man. Well done, guys. I like that. I've learned two things about you guys since I was last up here speaking to you. Here's the first one I learned. There are 6 generations alive at the same time right now. Did you guys know that? There are 6 different generations alive in the United States of America. We have our oldest people that were born before World War I. All right? World War I, 1917. Okay? We have people that are still alive that were born in the early 1900s. I'm talking 1915, 1910. Now, they were little during World War I, but they were alive. So we've got that generation. Then we've got the generation that was born from that generation. We call them the greatest generation because they're the generation that fought World War II, the war that was supposed to end all wars in the world. They gave birth to my generation, generation number 3 that's alive today. And we were called the baby boomers. And you guys have probably heard all about baby boomers. Well, I'm of the baby boomer generation. I am 3rd in the list of 6 generations that are alive right now. After the baby boomers, after my generation, came a generation we called Generation X. We don't talk a whole lot about Generation X anymore. But when I was growing up, a little older than you guys, that generation really was coming into being. After Generation X came the generation of my children, some of your parents maybe, the millennial generation. Okay, you've heard a lot about, at first we called them Generation Y. Get it? X, Y, all right? Your generation's called Generation Z. Every one of you were born after the year 2000. Okay? That means you are anywhere between 1-year-old, my grandchildren, or 20 years old, 21. Here's what I've learned. 6 generations alive, same time. Is there any wonder that we have a tough time agreeing on stuff in this nation? 6 different generations trying to figure stuff out together. Your generation, okay, Generation Z, you guys, you are the majority, listen to me on this, you are the majority generation in the armed forces of the United States of America right now. That means it is your generation, Generation Z, those who were born after the year 2000, that none remember what happened on 9/11. You guys have only heard stories or seen pictures. And yet, we're still in Afghanistan, which is the country that was attacked right after 9/11. We've been there almost 20 years. This year marks the 20th anniversary of 9/11, 2001. Your generation is carrying the weight of the fighting that is being done around the world right now. Your generation has more people in college than any generation that has ever come before them. You are approaching 60% of your generation that is in college. We've never had that before. The millennials did pretty good. They hit 52%. Go millennials. Generation X, okay, they did okay. They hit 43%. My generation, the baby boomer generation, we barely got into the 20s. And if you go back to what we call the greatest generation, there weren't very many of them that made it to college. So, well done, Generation Z. You are carrying, in many ways, already, your generation, the people I'm talking to tonight. If you think that you're insignificant, you guys need to know you are carrying the weight of the present and the weight of the future. You are our military, and you are those who are training yourselves for the future. So, because you guys are so important, I'm not going to waste your time. I want to tell you a story. And it's a story that you've heard before, and it goes like this. Jesus tells the story of a young man, the son of a father, two different generations here, right? And the son went up to his father, and he said, Dad, I'm ready to go out into the world. I want my inheritance. I'm ready to go to college. I'm ready to go into the military. I'm ready to go get a job. I'm ready to go have some fun. Whatever the reason that this young man was ready to leave home, he said to his dad, give me what I need to go out there and get started. Give me my inheritance. And the father literally wrote him a check, gave him his inheritance, and the young man, it says, went out into the city. Now, does anybody here believe that that was the first time this young man had been into that city? No, obviously not. Just like you guys, he knew where to go in Evansville, or he knew where to go in Jasper, or he knew where to go in Tell City, or he knew where to go in Owensboro to have a good time, to work, to play, to go to school. He knew the lay of the land. And the Bible tells us, Jesus tells this story, that when he got there, he fell in with people that he shouldn't have fallen in with. He started listening to those people, and before you know it, it says he was so hungry that even the animals in the city were being fed better than him. So the end of the story is a great ending to the story, because it's the story of the prodigal son, and he wises up and he goes home and his dad forgives him and he becomes a part of the family again, and everything's great. Here's what I want to ask you. What should the young man have done? What's the point of Jesus' story? Is it just a warning? Boy, you better be careful when you leave home. Is it a warning? Don't leave home? Is that what we're supposed to take from Jesus' story? It's dangerous out there in the world, kids. Don't leave home. Not a chance. Jesus left home. Everybody leaves home. Here's what I think the point of the story is. Let me read. I don't have it with me. It's found in Matthew. Found in the 16th chapter of Matthew. Matthew 16, there's a verse in there, maybe verse 7. I don't know. Don't hold me to that. But it's in Matthew 16, I know that. Jesus says to his disciples, beware, be careful. The leaven of the Pharisees. Be careful of the leaven of the Pharisees. Anybody in chapter 16 can tell me what verse that was? 5. Verse 5, there we go. I was close. I said 7, man. I was only 2 off. All right? I'll blame that on old age. It's 6. Oh, I was even better, man. I can't blame that on old age. Beware the leaven of the Pharisees. Let me tell you something about leaven. You guys know what that is? I love the fact that one of you came up to me when I came in and said, do we get to take communion tonight? And I said, no, it's not a communion night. And they were like, I was so hoping that we finally got to go back to real bread for communion. You and me both, I can tell you that. This is a loaf of Hawaiian bread. I stopped by the store on the way here and picked it up. That looks the way it looks because of something called leaven. if this didn't have leaven in it, or as much leaven as makes this thing all squishy, and when I rip this, or if I rip this apart, it's all soft and fluffy in there, right? If it didn't have that, it'd look like that. All right? And I rip this apart, and it's like paper. The only way, basically, that this tastes good is if you fill it with meat and cheese, chicken or hamburger or something like that, and you pour lots of sauce on it and you roll it up and you eat it. That's a tortilla. It's made to hold food. It's not made to be food. Now, that has a little bit of leaven in it. Not enough to make it this, because this, you'd rip that apart, man, that's a meal. It may not be a good meal for you, but that's a meal. It'll fill you up if you eat that loaf of bread, I guarantee. That, not so much. Here's what happens when you put absolutely no leaven. Now, you know where this came from, right? Some farmer in their field grew flour, or they grew wheat, they grew barley, or they grew corn. One of those, because those are the only three things that give us this. This one would have been wheat, okay? And they took these stalks of wheat, and on the top of them are these little kernels. And those came off in the harvester. And they took those and they ground them up. And when they ground them up, there's a hard shell on the outside, and on the inside is this powdery substance. And they took that flour and they ground it until it was really, really fine. Then what they did is they put leaven, when they got a big batch of this, a big bowl of this flour, they put leaven in it, they put water with it, and then they smashed it up into a ball. They would put it in a pot, and they would cover the pot with something, linen, cloth, anything that kept a lot of the air off of it. And what would happen is it would get warm inside. That leaven makes the bread get warm. And that bread, or that ball of flour and leaven and water would begin to rise. And then they'd take that cloth off and they'd punch it real hard once, and they'd take all the air out of it, and they'd smash it down again. And then they'd put that cloth back over it and they'd let it rise up again. And then once they had this, a ball that started out like that was now like that. They'd take that and they would roll it out, and they would put it in their furnace, or they'd put it on the fire, and with heat applied to it, direct heat now, it would become a loaf of bread. You can do the same thing. Go down to the store, buy some flour, buy some leaven, put some water with it, put it into a ball. I would suggest you put some flavoring in it. We like flavored bread nowadays. Put some butter in it. That makes it taste good. But take that loaf, that little lump of flour, water, and yeast, the leaven, let it rise, and you can eat it. Jesus said to his disciples in Matthew 16, you need to beware the leaven, the yeast of the Pharisees. Why the Pharisees? Why not the Sadducees? Why the Pharisees? Why not the money changers? Why was it the Pharisees that the disciples were supposed to be taken care of, and not the military? Surely all of those were a danger to the disciples too, don't you think? But it was to the Pharisees. Let me tell you what happened, I believe, to this young man that left his father's house, to wrap this up. I think what happened to that young man, not much older than anybody sitting in this room, within just a few years, a few short years. Anybody in here other than my Rangers that's younger than 13? I know my Rangers are. That means, guys, within 5 years, you could be serving in the military. Within 5 years, you're going to college. That, for your parents, is going to go by in the blink of an eye. For you guys, it may feel long sometimes, but I guarantee you're going to look back at 18 years of age, am I right, Kinley? And you're going to say, where in the world did my years at high school and junior high go? 5 years. For some of you, it's 1 or 2. You're heading off now. Why the Pharisees? Here's what I think happened to the prodigal son. I think what happened to the prodigal son is he met people in that city that were just enough like him that he was inclined to listen to them. You know anybody like that? They're just enough like you that what they say sounds right. They're your age. They're good looking. They're smart. They like the music you like. They like the books you like. They think the way you think. You see, the Pharisees and the Sadducees were 2 different kinds of religious leaders of the day. It's not enough just to say Jesus said, beware of religion. That's not what Jesus was saying. The Pharisees and the Sadducees were 2 totally different people. You see, the Sadducees said, we're not even sure there is a God. They said, if there is a God, there is no resurrection. And for a typical Jewish young man or young woman, that didn't register. The Sadducees were a religious group of 120 men. There were 60 of this 120, Pharisees, Sadducees, 60 and 60, sat on this thing called the Sanhedrin, the religious Supreme Court of the day. Half of them didn't even really believe in God. Are you going to pay any attention to somebody if they say, there is no God when you go to college? If you go into the military and the buddy next to you or the young lady next to you says, why do you wear that cross? There's no God. What are you going to say? Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. Those aren't the people you have to beware of. You don't have to beware of the teacher that's going to get in front of you and say, there is no God. You know who the teacher you got to beware of? Do you know who the friend you got to beware of? It's the friend that thinks just enough like you that they have the chance of convincing you that it's okay to go out and drink. That it's okay to go out and party rather than do your homework. That it's okay to disobey orders if you're in the military. The Pharisees, beware the leaven. The story of the prodigal son, I think, is definitely a story of a father and a son reunited, but I think there's another story in there, and it's a story of a young man that, just like your generation, is going out because it's time to go out. Guys, the day is going to come, and it will be time for you to go out. You've got to. You've got to go to school. You've got to get a job. You got to serve in the military if that's the thing that you're going to do. Beware. Not the people that aren't anything like you. Jesus' advice to the young man, beware the people that are just enough like you, that they're just going to a fraction. Oh, you don't have to go to church this morning. Let's go. Oh, you don't have to do your homework tonight. Oh, you can skip class this once. Just enough that before you know it, you've developed new habits. That's the leaven of the Pharisees. Just enough like you that they might lead you in a different path. God bless. Have a great time with Duffy tonight. Rangers, I'll see you upstairs.